couldn't
It's
find.
good. I was.
All right, guys, we are now
mentioned that.
live. We are being broadcast to the world.
Live.
Welcome to Whiskey Dads Live. Listen, last week we had a really good discussion. We hit a really difficult subject. Today we want to come back in. There's even more difficult subjects to talk about and continue that conversation. But before we do, Matt Carlson, tell us what we're drinking. What's the cocktail for today?
Yeah, tonight we're drinking a cocktail that's based on the classic Vieux Carré, which is also the French name for the French Quarter in New Orleans. Yeah. So this cocktail takes its inspiration from Vieux Carré, and it's called TREMÉ, after the historically African-American neighborhood of New Orleans. Nice. So it's got 1 ounce of Uncle Nearest 1856, 1 ounce of Armagnac instead of the cognac, which you normally have in Vieux Carré, 1 ounce of Dolin Red Sweet Vermouth. You've got a teaspoon of Averna Amaro, and then 1 dash of Angostura bitters and 2 dashes of Aztec chocolate bitters. You're going to stir that up in a mixing glass, strain it and pour it over 1 large rock. And then I think on the Uncle Nearest page, I hadn't quite changed it yet. It says express a lemon peel and then drop it in. I found that with drinking it, the lemon starts to overpower the cocktail as you drink. So I would suggest expressing it over the cocktail and then discarding the lemon garnish.
Toss it out.
So you get like the aromatics of the lemon, but it doesn't start to, because you really want to taste the sort of the chocolate notes and the spice from the Armagnac.
Wow, that sounds extremely difficult to make. That's why I keep mine straightforward.
It's very good. I'll make it for you the next time I see it, man.
Thank you, sir. I'm gonna hold you to it. Well, listen, guys, we're gonna kind of do a roundabout and introduce who we are real quick. For those that do not know, I am Mac. I'm outside of Virginia, so I represent the whole Virginia area as the market manager here. I have a 6-year-old daughter, 4-month-old son. And I'm actually getting a little bit of sleep now, so I'm not too mad about that. It's just kind of hard to keep both of them entertained. So that's me. I'm going to go right to, I guess, Speedy below me, and then we'll go Matt and then Jay.
Let's get it.
Hey, everybody. I'm Speedy out of Nashville, Tennessee. I am the Tennessee and Alabama market manager, like an ambassador. I'm just a little guy with a big mouth, and I love Uncle Nearest. Yeah, so kind of the opposite of Mac and Matt, where theirs are so young and so sweet. Mine are 13 and I'll be 16 in about 2 weeks. So I'm sleeping fine. They try to sleep 24 hours a day. So, you know, we're good. We're good. Except for the ferrets. When you start.
What's good, Grady?
Ferrets.
Okay, Matt Carlson.
I'm Matt Carlson. I'm one of the brand ambassadors for Uncle Nearest in Los Angeles. I have a 9-month-old daughter, so she's sleeping through the night, but you know, it's a little on the wild side right now. So,
very nice.
Right on. Well, folks, I'm Jay Madison, market manager here in Georgia, in the beautiful city of ATL. I have a somber, I'm smiling, but I have a somber mood. How about this, man? You know what? We started off last time. Let's take a second, have a moment of silence for all the lives lost, number one. And most recently, sad to say, another brother got killed Friday night here in Atlanta. Rashard Brooks was killed. So I don't feel like having this daggone conversation, but we have this platform, and we, this is a way to get it out. It's kind of cathartic. So, all right, let's get a moment of silence, fellas, and that'll maybe help me get my mind together, because I look like I'm cool, but inside I'm about to blow.
Yes, sir.
Let's just take a moment of silence, fellas, if we can.
Yes, sir.
Amen. Right. All right. Well, let's we're gonna have some good time. We're gonna probably knowing me and Speedy might a curse word might slip out somewhere. We're gonna laugh, we're gonna cry, we're gonna talk about some things, but we're gonna have a good time. And I mean, what better opportunity than to have, just a dialogue, sit back, sip on some real good Uncle Nearest. And it's a great cocktail too, by the way, man. I mean, that's one of the old school cocktails I've always loved, was a Vieux Carré. And then just to flip the script on that and do the Armagnac in there and the chocolate bitters. I'm about to make one too while we continue to talk. And but also too, the fact you talked about making the TREMÉ LAFITTE, that's the name of the neighborhood, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Which is really, really cool. I mean, I looked it up. It was probably the first neighborhood that was of free persons of color back all the way down back in the days in 1794. So the fact that people of color were free there, but also too it was a mix of folks, and so it's a very, very historic neighborhood, and I think that's a great way that we pay homage to that type of cocktail and giving it that type of name. So I love that fact. I mean, but it's New Orleans is trying to make its way back, and that neighborhood I'm seeing is getting a revitalization. Some would say a regentrification or a gentrification. So that's a challenge, but giving love and respect and honor to them in this cocktail is real good. In this pushing on forward in this daggone episode we got right here and talking about what we got going on. Speedy, man, how you feeling, bro? How's it been this week for you, or this weekend, I guess?
Sad, man. I mean, it's hard to articulate, when all of this is going on, everything's magnified, and then something happens again. When all cameras, all attention, all focus is on everything, it's, I'm still, like anybody else, if I post something that's positive, like our CEO posted something the other day, is very positive message. And I mean, that's what we do across the board. We preach love, we preach honor, we preach respect. Yeah. That's the narrative we teach and preach everywhere we go. And I posted something about that, and it was some local jackass, that he was like, "Oh no thanks." It's like, boy, bye, fine. See, you have these assholes, man, that it's like they're like comment ninjas, man. They just pop up out of nowhere. You forget you were even friends with them. It's like, right. It's one of those things. It's like, cool, man. I'm not trying to bait anybody or anything like that. What I showed was a message of love. If you have an issue with that, you can go shit in your MAGA hat and sit on fire with a tiki torch. I don't care. Bye.
There we go.
There you go.
That's where I am. You remember the movie Jerry Maguire?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, there was a scene with Cuba Gooding Jr.'s wife where she says, I'm pregnant, and I'm incapable of bullshit. That's where I am right now.
Nice.
Except for the pregnant part.
Yeah.
Well, man.
Except for the pregnant part, unless you want to announce
except for the pregnant part.
Right.
Great science. Woo!
Hey, listen, while we're having this conversation, I also want to make sure you guys that are watching right now live continue to post something in those live streams in the comments. We will address as many comments as we can. I definitely want to give a big shout out to Grady. Thank you for saying what's up, brother. Butch, Rod, Corrine, sorry. And Uncle Nearest, we're on it now. So please, you guys continue to comment, and we will be able to see what you're talking about so we can address that.
I'm trying to pull it up right now so I can see what the heck is going on. Last week was last week was so stressful because I'm trying to be focused on the conversation. I'm looking to the side, I'm seeing comments. I'm like, that's gonna be part of the fun with us trying to do this. But I know, Mac, you're gonna be on top of it between you and Sailor taking care of things, man.
Yes, sir.
I'll just say this part where it's so like Speedy was saying, we talk and we feel we want to have hope. We want to know that things are going to get better. We know that, hashtag together we can, hashtag together we win. And then you have this event happen, and I don't know if people really know about it, but essentially the young man, Rashard Brooks, was at Wendy's, was in the to-go line or in the drive-through line and fell asleep in his car. He was intoxicated. And so I think someone at Wendy's, of course, called 911. The police came, knocked on his window, woke him up. He moved the car out the line and parked in a parking spot. And then they proceeded to have a conversation with this man, have dialogue with this man for I know probably at least over over 20 minutes, you know, talking about like, what did you have to drink, blah, blah. I mean, he tells about his sister lives down the street. His girlfriend had left and drove away. And then they're asking about how much he had to drink again. I think he said like 1.5 drinks or 2 drinks. And they're just going through all this type of stuff. And then finally it comes down to, I mean, and he's being extremely respectful. I mean, he's like, yes, sir, no, sir, all that type of stuff. And it's like it goes from 1 to 100 in like 10 seconds. And so they ask him, do you want to take a breathalyzer? And you can see the dude is like, oh, damn. I mean, like, what, one way or another, like if I say no, then I might get in trouble. And if I say yes, then, you know, it's going to be what it is. So he went ahead and took the breathalyzer. And then they proceeded to ask him some more questions after that. And then all of a sudden, just like that, the cop says he's gonna take him under arrest. I forgot exactly the exact terminology, but he says it at the same time that he's grabbing his arm and trying to put a handcuff on him. And the dude was like, what the hell? I mean, pretty much, it's like, wow. And I mean, he just, you know, he resisted arrest from that standpoint of just probably being scared, probably being like all this type of stuff is going down. They both try and take him down to the ground. He fights them off, gets away, and runs off with one of the guy's stun guns and is running away. So this is a guy drunk. His car's there parked. He's running away. And you can see the cop grab his gun and shoot him in his back and in his butt. And Rashard turns around because he has one of the stun guns. He just pretty much turned around trying to shoot the stun gun. And the guy shot him with his gun. I was like, wow. And so that just happened Friday night. And the fact that with all this going on, it's like, you know, you just look in disbelief. It's like, that cannot be real. It's like, how is it still happening right now? And then I think they have so much footage from the body cams and all that type of stuff. It's just, it's sickening, man. It's freaking sickening. And at this point in time, you know, I told you guys last week, and folks know, you know, I got 3 kids. I got a 25-year-old daughter. Hey, Jordan, how you doing? I love you, darling. Up in Maryland. I got my son, Ethan is 10 years old, about to be 11 on June 19th, on Juneteenth. And then I got my baby girl who's 6, who's Laylan, who is 6. And I can't, you know, we talked about George Floyd, but I can't say this to him, man. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And then in fact, we're here in Atlanta. You know, it was funny. I'll just express this and I'm gonna be quiet for a second. So my wife and kids were going, they had a doctor's appointment this last week, going to get the physicals, right? And so my wife took the kids. I'm going out, you know, about to run out, hit some accounts. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna meet you all over there first and make sure everything is cool. Cause you know, still dad mode, COVID. I'm like, I want to be there. So, you know, so my wife rolls out. Some accident was on 20. So they took a shortcut and went through the MARTA parking lot, which is like rapid transit, like the train. So they went through there, and MARTA has their own police. So there was a policeman in the parking lot with his lights running, my wife said. And because Ethan's about to be 11 and we have some stuff in the back seat, I put him in the front seat. And so my wife was saying when she took the shortcut and went through the MARTA parking lot and seeing the lights on, like she saw him like not necessarily tense up, but was like paying attention, like looking at the lights. And I asked him today, I was like, wow, you know, Mommy told me you were looking at the lights and just really paying attention to the cops. I was like, what was going through your mind? He was like, I just didn't want them to pull us over and hurt us and be on our necks like George Floyd. And I'm like,
wow. Yeah.
What, bro? Yeah. You know, and I don't want to tell him, I don't want to say that this had just happened and even let him know about what happened. And then even say the fact that it happened here in Atlanta, he's going to be like, dude, daddy, I'm just tired of cops killing black people. He said that. I'm just tired of cops killing black people. And that's what I have too. I mean, it's just amplified. It's like,
yeah, so I think that, you know, it's an interesting point you make right there, Jay, is that, you know, we know how we feel about things coming from a certain age when we are already kind of, we've experienced this time and time again. But when the younger generation sees it, their reaction of how they see it and how they understand it, you know, I think that it's interesting when you look at older generations. And I think a lot of times the older generation will say, I'm tired. the younger generation does not seem quite as tired at all. I think they are driven and motivated. I think that a lot of the younger generation, though, is much more together. I think the older generation has seen this happen so many times and time again that it's hard to have dialogue. It's hard to have conversation. There's not many ways you can put how come, why. These are humans you're talking about. It doesn't matter if it's a criminal act. Nobody deserves to die. It doesn't matter. You can't even have those discussions anymore at this point. So you lose a lot of those talking points, exactly. So I think now seeing what the younger generation is doing is going to be finding and going to be demanding action. Whereas a lot of our older generation, not as much action. It might just be talk. Don't know. But the younger generation looks like they're looking for action. So to kind of go back to what you said your son was saying, he's tired of it, but it looks like he is one of those mindsets of something has to happen. You equate if this is wrong, then something has to happen to fix that, right? Yeah. Versus just saying, oh, that's wrong. Oh, guess what they did? Something else wrong. And then you do something else that's wrong. And oh, here goes some more wrong. That's why you just like, well, okay,
right?
What gives? Something got to happen.
An 11-year-old's mind is like that's wrong, and you're right. Yeah. I mean, I think that's really what it is too. Is that you look at it from the young people's standpoint? They got the energy. I love that they got the energy.
Yep.
Us being middle-aged, we have the wherewithal, the wisdom, and also too the connections, the network, the things to kind of make some stuff happen. We had our mayor Keisha Lance Bottoms. We're around the same age. You know what I'm saying? They're so that thing in regards of our age. Then you have the older generation who has all this wisdom, all this knowledge to impart. So it's kind of like a multi-generational of figuring out how to work this thing out and utilizing young folks' energy and lack of being tired, like screw this, we about to go get it. Our middle generation right here, where we like, we are extremely concerned, but I got kids, I got parents, you know what I'm saying? I'm in the middle, so it's like I can't be out there protesting, because if something happens to me and I get arrested, or something happens to me and I get shot or something, like I can't do that, So this is what I can do in regards to my protest. And the older generation, like my pops, and they have so much information and knowledge to spread from back in the days when they were during the 50s and 60s and 70s coming through it. So it's gonna take all of us. And now having everyone, white folks, Spanish folks, Asian, Native American, I mean, like everybody's like, man, this enough is a freaking enough. But we got this idiot in the freaking White House that is trying to do that is going to do a rally on June 19th in Tulsa. So you got June 19th was a day of freedom, Jubilee Day for Black folks being freed, celebrating being freed from slavery, even though they were free from the Emancipation Proclamation 2 years earlier. Then on top of that, you have Tulsa, which is the place of Black Wall Street. And if you don't know about that, y'all, look it up, like type it in. Black Wall Street in Tulsa, Oklahoma. There was a community of Black people. They had their own community, stores. I mean, everything. I mean, it was literally, there were millionaires in this community, completely segregated. And what happened was they called it a race riot. What happened is they went in there and pretty much blew the town out, killed people, set fire to stuff, just eradicated this town and never came back. And it's like, dude, we can't freaking win, man. So the fact that he's going to do something in Tulsa on June 19th is a freaking slap in the face. It's like, this guy, man.
Well, just recently announced that he's moving it to the 20th, I believe. But I don't think it really matters. But I'll say this. Maybe somebody gave him a memo, but maybe he already knew. No. That was just, I doubt that, especially with this kind of guy. But I want to say I highlighted Rod Jackson's comment. We have more involvement in young generations.
What's up, Roddy?
In all races. And I think that's an awesome comment. I don't know, Matt, Speedy, if you guys care to comment. I know me and Jay just been kind of chopping it up for a bit, but keep these comments coming. I'm gonna highlight the ones that come through. Thank you, guys.
Matt, you haven't spoken yet. Go ahead, my friend.
Yeah, poor Matt. We put him on the spot. Matt's like,
my brother Matt.
I mean, I do find it hopeful, that we look out at images of these protests, and it's not. It's a sea of faces of every type of person.
Absolutely.
Right. And that is a cause for hope. I think one thing I talked about last week is specifically to white people who may be watching, is to not lose focus or to get busy or to, you guys are laughing at me.
No. Jay did a nice little wave, I guess.
Hi,
yeah.
folks.
Yeah.
Thank you for watching. For real.
No, I think there's a tendency to, in things that don't happen to you personally, that there's a way that people can compartmentalize or get caught up in a news cycle and then move on. And I would just ask people not to move on. And I think we're seeing this now that, we're seeing more, right? We're seeing what happened in Atlanta. We were talking earlier about what happened in Palmdale, which I cover that territory, about an hour north of Los Angeles, where a young man named Robert Fuller was found hanging from a tree. These are things that we can't look away from, and we need to be present for. I talked to Jay before we started this, and we want to have hopeful conversation around these issues, but it can be hard. And I think it's important that we use this space and this conversation to grieve those losses too. Both the losses in our communities, but also the losses of, well, for me, I think what I hoped America had become or how things had changed.
Yeah.
And we're reminded constantly that some things haven't.
Yeah.
And we need to be present. And if we want change to happen, we all need to be there for it.
Well said, man. Well said. I'll say this. I think that, change is never comfortable for a lot of people. So what's being discussed, talked about, the reason why the protest is going on, a lot of times we have to make sure, like you said, man, that we know the reason why. You think about the civil rights acts, and how long ago that was. That was before I was born when that really was going on. And the thing about it is, why did it not change then? Even before then, why did that even happen? But for America to make such a big motion as it did at that time, and a lot of people got behind it, it makes you, to be honest, makes a lot of Black people question now, will this really fall through? Will change actually happen? This global reaction has been, I'm not gonna lie, it's been amazing. I just saw that Berlin did the second, they did the largest outside of the country, right? The largest protest in Berlin. And then you see in all these different places. Yeah, it's amazing. So this is not just an American problem, obviously. It's a global problem. And I think that a lot of it came from influence. A lot of it came from just the way people saw the treatment of African Americans, I believe, even from the very beginning. And I think that created a fear. And that's just something that's stuck in people. You got fear against anger. And those two are colliding right now. And I don't know. I will say this, though, again, going back to the younger generation, it's interesting because I do believe that they have hope in their hearts, but I also believe that they have power and they have tenacity. And I think that they're really going to try their best to stick this thing through. But just some thoughts real quick. Speedy, I didn't mean to cut. I didn't know if you were going to say something. I thought I might have cut you off. Okay. Jay,
no, I'm just an animated little dude, man.
No, okay, no, you're good. You're good.
I'm everybody's favorite Muppet.
No, none of that. If they say that, we got problems. Point them out.
Right. Only we can say that to you. You know what I'm saying? You're my favorite Papa Smurf, bro.
No, we're not. No, none of that.
No, we
never
have
that.
That's an inside.
It's inside. It's love, bro. It's total love.
Well, I will say this. What's interesting, I would say this, though. Social media has become a huge tool in all of this protesting. It's amazing how a lot of people are telling on themselves. They're losing their jobs. I don't know if you've seen this whole thing about who's next. The memes, I think that comes from Hip Hop Harry or something like that. I think my wife was trying to educate me on that. But it's this whole thing about who's next. A lot of people are making comments on social media, or they're making comments at their job. You saw the whole thing with CrossFit, right? Yeah. You guys see the CrossFit, was it Glassman? the CEO of CrossFit. He comes out, he says something, and next thing you know, he's gone from CrossFit, the thing that he actually created. But yeah, go for it. Did you? Oh yeah, you said bye, Speedy.
Yeah.
I feel you.
I have a question for you guys.
Yeah, please.
You feel, 2 years ago when the Me Too movement kind of broke, it felt like this watershed moment where things would really change. And I think in some ways they have. Do you feel that we're at that point now with these issues? Are you hopeful in that way? And I guess I'd open this up to the people who are watching too.
Yeah, please, people are watching. I got one quick comment. I'm sorry.
It feels like it could be, and I hope that it is.
I'm going to say this.
I just wanted to see what you guys think.
Yeah, I think it's a big cookie. I mean, I think that racism, especially African-American racism. Yeah, I mean, just be honest. It's a big ass cookie. But I think it is the actual fabric that has held America together.
For sure.
You know what I'm saying? So if you take that
it's
fabric,
the reason why America is what it is. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I mean, in a lot of ways. So if you take that thread out, it kind of dismantles in the sense that now you have to restructure it, right? So I honestly, and this is just me, this is my own personal view. I don't think you're gonna get rid of racism. I think you just have to find a way to get better police reform. You got to get a better way to get actual type of awareness where there are real actions taking place to make it so we can be together. I mean, it sounds good to say together we can. I hope together we can, but I don't think that we could get rid of racism. So when we start saying these things, that's kind of getting away from what can actually happen. So if we got, they say, what are the action items? You want to know real action items. What can we really do? And that's why you have all these interesting conversations pop out. Okay, well, what can really happen? Because again, I think when you take out the whole thing of racism, you take out what has held this thing together from the jump. And unfortunately, that's just true.
I think it comes down to first and foremost, you got to acknowledge it. You have to understand. And I think this is something that's beginning where I guess in a sense more so a lot more white folks are starting to know and find out more about history, because the easy way to be like, I didn't own slaves, and I don't know why I should pay for something that happened hundreds of years ago. It's like, I get that part, and you don't want to take responsibility from that standpoint because you personally did not do anything. But because of what your ancestors did to my ancestors, you are now here and I am down here. And to continue to act like everything is cool is not okay. To pretend as if, if you just pull yourself up by your bootstraps and stop complaining, you'll be all right. Okay, cool. Right. Wow. Like I'm not being redlined. Like I can't go into a bank and be looked at the same way you be looked at for getting a loan for a business. Like I can't I can't even pull up to a daggone Wendy's and give me a burger when I'm drunk. Like how many of us have been drunk? Like, dude, I need to give me something to eat. You know what I'm saying?
Used to be Taco Bell for me, but I ain't going there no more. I ain't gonna lie, man. I saw. I don't know if y'all have done this. Have y'all a little bit of levity right here? Are you going through your feed and saying who said something about Black Lives Matter if they didn't? I don't know if I'm even going to go towards their business no more. It's interesting, man. But yeah I'm with you though. I understand, man. Hey, listen, I want to highlight this. Oh, Matt, you want to say something? Sorry.
Just off your point, Jay, there's been a conversation. My family's got a text thread, right? And I think I told you guys last week, my sister lives in Minneapolis in the neighborhood where George Floyd died. And so that has obviously made her look at her community and our history a little more deeply. And I'm really proud of her for sharing the things that she's shared on my family's text thread. One of them was about the GI Bill, which I thought was particularly eye-opening to me in particular, because that sort of pull yourself up by your bootstraps narrative, that's the narrative that my family talks about, right? So my grandfather served in World War II. He came back, he got a factory job. In retrospect, I now realize he probably got a mortgage through the GI Bill, right? He had 4 sons, and my dad was the first in my family to go to college, was able to get a graduate degree, a PhD, and became a chemistry professor. And that narrative for so long was that, like, you work hard, and success will find you. And the article I read that my sister forwarded talked about how the GI Bill almost exclusively helped white people. That
people don't hear that part. They don't hear that.
People they don't know it, and they don't want to hear it.
No. That's the thing.
So what happens, which we find still happening today, when we talk about the expansion of Medicare or things being left up to the states, that happened with the GI Bill too. So the way that things were applied happened at the state level. So when you finished the military after World War II, you got a year of unemployment. You were able to go to college for free, and you had a government-backed mortgage. But what happened is it was left up to the states. Yeah, it's a huge leg up. And I can't remember the exact percentages, but African Americans were enormously disproportionate in the number that actually received those benefits, right? They were either weren't able to get those unemployment benefits because they got job offers that were way below what they should have been paid. They were redlined, so they weren't able to use those funds for mortgages, so they ended up renting. And if we understand anything about economics, we realize that the ability to buy a house is how Americans in the middle class build wealth. And if you're cut out of that, you just don't have that possibility. And my grandfather didn't use the GI Bill to go to college, right? He got a factory job, but he got that factory job because of who he was and what he looked like. And the mortgage that he got for his house created an atmosphere that allowed his 4 sons to go to college. And so I'm generations removed from that, but I can see very clearly that where I am and where my family is because of that, and that African Americans were excluded from that.
Yeah.
So those are conversations that we need to have, and we need to have, especially among white people, to realize what systemic racism is. That's systemic racism. The advantages that you have were often to the detriment of someone else.
I mean, and I'll shoot a little piece when you say that, because I know for us on Whiskey Dads, we usually talk about beforehand, before all this was going crazy. We used to talk about what shows we checking out. There's a movie on Netflix now, Spike Lee joint. What's up, the big Spike Lee, another Morehouse alumnus. Anyway, so it's a movie called The Five Bloods, and it talks about five black guys who were in the Vietnam War, and they find some gold. I haven't seen it yet. I'm probably gonna watch it tonight. But just thinking it back to in the past, having family, uncles who served in the military. My wife's father served in the military, in the Marines, in the Korean War. You think about going all the way back to the Revolutionary War. There were black people fighting. So when I hear people like Drew Brees came out and said, my father and grandfather were in the war, stuff like that, and if you don't stand up for the flag, it's like this, like black folks are like, well, you don't have no right to protest if you want to, and don't disrespect the flag, as if the flag ain't as much mine as it is yours. You know what I'm saying? So Crispus Attucks was one of the first people who died in the Revolutionary War as a black man. Look him up. Civil War, you had black people fighting in the Civil War for their own freaking freedom. You even had black people even on the on the Confederate side helping out the Confederate soldiers because they were freaking slaves. I mean, it's crazy. So to get to this point and you be able to come back from World War II or from Korean War or Vietnam, and you've served your country, and then to come back to a country where you've had a gun, you fought and you risk your life, and you come back home, and say you come back home to Alabama and your brother just got shot from not stepping off the street corner when a white family was coming by, or something like what Emmett Till happened, or you're feeling like, where are my benefits? How come I can't buy a house? And just regulated to less of a man after you go through that. I mean, it's debilitating, dude. It's like, what the hell? And to be at this point, it's like, it's such a disparity, but it's been so much over time. That was the one thing. The second one was my grandfather was my uncle, and I sat down, had talks with him. My grandfather was a fantastic athlete. I mean, I remember talking to folks. He grew up in Covington, Kentucky, right across the river, and came from Alabama, but grew up in Covington, Kentucky, right across the river from Ohio. I mean, legendary were the things that he did in football. went to Knoxville College, and everybody that I talked to, like old school cats, was like, man, if they would have let black people in professional leagues, your grandfather would have been in there immediately. Like, he was that freaking good. And it's like when you say stuff like that, if they let black people into NFL, if they let black people into Major League Baseball, it's like we've been limited so much, and finally get to this point. And then now when you have black athletes who are now doing their thing and who even speak out, it's like people are saying, don't you even dare to speak out or say anything. But at the end of the day, they're still black athletes getting paid a whole lot of money. But guess who's writing those checks? White guys who own the team. It's like, it's still a disparity. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know. That's just my time on the soapbox. I'm gonna shut the heck up and pass it on to somebody else.
I want to say something real quick. Something real quick because I'm in Virginia, and I just recently found out that Virginia has the most statues dedicated to Confederate soldiers or leaders in any state. I had no idea. Here's what's really strange, because you mentioned Crispus Attucks. A lot of people do not know Crispus Attucks. Never heard the name, but it's funny. The one thing we know about Crispus Attucks is that he died. We know that he was in the Revolutionary War. We don't know anything else about him. He died in the Revolutionary War. Isn't that crazy?
One of the first, bro.
Yeah, but now you don't know any of the other black soldiers that did anything else in the Revolutionary War, but you know Crispus Attucks, and you know he died. It's interesting because the history that we choose, America, meaning we, that we choose to tell, that story his story that we tell, leaves out so much. We know this. I mean, hell, we work for Uncle Nearest. This is a man whose name was not even discussed on this level until recently. So it's amazing that when I found out there were so many street names from Confederate soldiers and leaders, and I didn't even know Jefferson Davis, who that was. And we have a whole highway, Jefferson Davis Highway. I had no idea. But it's almost it's almost, subliminal that it's there constantly just hovering over you. Go for it, Matt.
I want to jump in here because I want to recommend a podcast that came out a couple years ago now called White Lies. It's an NPR podcast that sort of takes a deep dive into the murder of the minister Jim Reeb, which was one of the impetuses for white people taking the civil rights movement seriously in the 60s. So he had gone down to, I want to say Selma, somewhere in Alabama, to join, and he was beaten and killed. And unsurprisingly, nobody was convicted for killing him.
Of course.
But the takeaway I have, the podcast is great. But one of the takeaways I had from that is that so many of the Confederate monuments that we now hear of having so much history and being so important to our country, and those monuments actually went up during the Civil Rights Movement. So they weren't put up after the Civil War. They weren't put up in 1870, 1875, or 1880.
Crazy, right?
They were put up in 1950 and the 1960s to intimidate people.
Yeah.
And so when you try to say that those monuments don't have anything to do with race and they have to do with pride, no, they don't, because they were put up in a moment of racial unrest in order to intimidate people.
Go for it, man.
People knew what they were doing when they put up those monuments. And it's just not true to say that that's not the intent of those monuments. That's not the intent from the very beginning.
Complete bullshit. It's like saying, hey, I'm gonna do my rally on June 19th in Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Oops, I didn't know.
Oh, that's not a bad idea? Okay.
It's interesting, man. What type of reaction do you expect? That's what I'm finally getting at, is that this global awareness, they actually wrote it up as called the Great Awakening, which is interesting. I mean, let me just say it's actually interesting, because I will say this. The funny thing is that for the past few months, our mouths have been closed, but our eyes have been open, obviously, because we can't, with the mask on around our mouths, our eyes, we have to sit there and watch. It's interesting how the two kind of related, But I will say this, that I feel the awareness and the discussion is a beautiful thing, but the actions that take place, I'm curious. I'm sitting back and I'm just trying to figure out
what's going to actually happen.
Yeah, I mean, it's easy to say Black Lives Matter. It's easy to do a post. And I believe your heart's in the right place. But until another tragedy or something else comes up that's more immediate, you have to really start putting in so many I'm at a loss right now because I don't even know where to start. I don't even know how you do this. Yeah. Do you? Because some of these people that have said things, there's no black representation on the leadership. You might have a black person working in the company, or you know what I'm saying. But how you gonna start involving and doing these incentives? And I'm just curious, So, and then I'm also curious. Like again, you need leadership for this because I don't know where do you go from here. If we're trying to do these things that sound great, how do you implement it? How do you, where do you go? So sorry, in my head, just had to throw it out.
Real fast,
go forward.
Go ahead, no, my bad. I'm gonna say it real fast because you said even Mac. I mean, sometimes it's so much that black people don't even know about themselves in regards to history. So it was interesting you saying you didn't know about Crispus Attucks. I'm gonna read this right here. I just looked it up. It said they're comparing George Floyd's death to 1770 death of Crispus Attucks. So Crispus Attucks was an American slave. Was an American slave. They're not sure if he was a slave or if he was a freedman, but he's an African American. He was African and also Native American, widely regarded as the first person killed in the Boston Massacre and thus the first American killed in the American Revolution. Historians disagree on whether he was a freedman or escaped slave, but for the most part, they know that he was the first one killed in the Boston Massacre, which was the set-off of the Revolutionary War, which, by the way, started with the Boston Tea Party, which hilariously, but messed up as hell. You know how they did the Boston Tea Party? So the white folks dressed up as Native Americans in the middle of the night. So if anybody looked at it, like, oh, the Native Americans, they're crazy as hell, and tossed the tea off the daggone ship. So already they did the blame game, like, not us, it was those guys. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, dude, it's just, man, it's like.
Tell you, man, it's the thread that holds the flag together. I'll say this though.
It's crazy. But I just wanted to get that out, man.
I've heard that George Floyd was compared to more like an Emmett Till. I'm amazed that they said a Crispus Attucks. Again, I mean, me and my wife were just talking, and we were
talking
off
a revolution.
Yeah, I gotta admit, if it's not on revolutionaries, it's revolutionary status at this point, no doubt. But I will say there's a lot of names, and I was an African American lit major, but even before then, I just your culture, you study a lot of things. I think last time we talked, I spoke about. Did I speak about Mac Parker on this? I did not. I just recalled who I had that conversation with. I had a really good conversation with somebody else that works with us. And we really spoke heart to heart. And I said, because he was asking me, the things that have affected me in the past when I was younger, that kind of got me introduced to, I guess, the racism in America. And I just recall there was a name of a guy that was actually lynched. And it's this amazing picture taken at night of this younger, I think looks like a teenage guy, lynched, black and white picture. And you see, of course, all the white faces, the family, the children that are laughing and pointing and smiling and dancing around it.
And having a get together, having a get together. Picnics.
Yeah, I've heard about the picnic, and I've heard about that. I'm wondering how true that really is. But yeah, I'm with you, Jay, on that. Yeah. But they ended up talking about that, and then they pointed that out. And I remember when I saw this picture, the guy, the name of him was Mac Parker. So I was a kid, and I remember thinking, that's me, and that stuck in my head when I was a young teenager. And I remember my parents had this. It was encyclopedias of Black America. I don't know what they called it though, but it had so much information in there. And I remember kind of creeping there at night and just flipping through the pages, and it was horrific. And then I recall years later, hearing Nina Simone singing Strange Fruit. And all these things at the time when you first hear it or whatever, and you're just like, oh, that's an interesting song. And then you start really breaking down what that is really saying.
Yeah.
And you get these visuals. I'm a visual guy. So that stuck in my mind. And so I'm fast forwarding now to 2020, and I'm seeing some of these same things, and I'm having to recount my introduction to racism and my feelings of feeling less than human. And I'm having to recount that. And it's a dark place. And I will say this, I hope we don't fall for the race baiting. I mean, honestly, as a country, I hope we don't fall for this vibe that is trying to be promoted. And I'm not going to say just it's only in social media. I think it's all throughout. I think we have to be stronger than that. We got to be bigger than that, and we got to see what it is that we're really trying to gain. Because, in the end, this wouldn't work beautiful for anyone, no matter how you cut it. Win or lose, there will be too much loss. And I never want to come that deep and that dark. You guys know my energy is always up. But I tell you, that's one thing that I hope we can remember to not let that happen. Well, we've already known, I'm going to flat out say it. We've already known there's been other countries that have gone into Facebook and created posts to try to help break this country down and mess it up. It's easy to try to start a race war. And that's definitely not going to help this country. It's not going to help the world. So I hope that we're strong enough not to go that direction. However, when there's small actions that keep happening time and time again, in times when people are together, we have to be very careful about how we view these things and how we move forward. So, and we got to be active in it. So, sorry, comments. Don't have to be on that. Just had to say it. Sorry, I'm saying talk. Your boy Mac just kind of gets out there sometimes and just spits something out. But again, ultimately, I'm just saying. I just hope we're looking at what's really happening. We are viewing this thing in the sense of we want to keep this boat going forward. Maybe that's the wrong word to use. Boat. We want this vehicle to keep moving. You get what I'm saying? Just being honest with you.
To keep going.
Yeah, we do. I'm just being honest. And I think hey, call it like it is. And you want it, Whiskey Dad's Live, that's what you get. But I think at the same rate.
What you talking about, bro? You talking about slavery?
Yeah, exactly. Let's go come there.
Butt, man. What's wrong with you?
But I think honestly, that's the thing. We want to see everything progressing. We don't want to go back. That's the nature. That's the energy. I want to make sure that we're trying to keep going. And even though we're going through some harsh times, it's got to be for progression.
Yeah, man, for sure. What's funny when you're listening to you talk about it? Looking up here, I see a comment from Pete Sinko. I hope I'm saying your name right.
Yeah.
Talking about any chance of Uncle Nearest being sold in Australia. And my response is Kate Lynch Jerkins, who is our global VP of sales and marketing, or Fawn Weaver. And thinking that, those are our leadership, right?
Yeah.
Now look at the picture, and I think I spoke I can't remember, I'm getting too old for this. But either I spoke to you, Mac, or Matt, or I don't know who the heck I was talking. Maybe I might have been talking to my man Tex too. But looking at it from you see what happened here in Atlanta. And immediately the chief of police stepped down and resigned. Yeah. Imagine something happened with Uncle Nearest and Fawn Weaver's like, I'm out.
Wow.
What would you do? What from us, how we look at Fawn, how we look at Keith, how we look at Kate, how we look at those who have made this company what it is, who were the people who found us and who have led us thus far and maneuver through some who knows how many crazy things they have to maneuver through to get us to this level, which is amazing and excellent. And that's why I have so much pride. But for something, if something bad were to happen and then the next day you're like, I resign, not to take responsibility, not to be accountable, not to be the person to figure out and work on it. I don't know. What do you all think about that? The chief of police just resigned, I'm out. I think that, to me, I feel like that's a cop out, but I may be looking at it wrong. I may just, that maybe she's trying to set an example, I'm out, and then someone told me that she's out, and then she's expecting that they hire a black chief of police. I'm like, well, hell, you gonna lead a black chief of police to clean this crap up? That's messed up. It's like how Obama had to come in and save the freaking day back in 2008, and then he leaves, and this guy comes in and gets the credit, or feels like he needs to get the credit, and then tears it up in 3 years or less. It's like, here we go again.
That's why I say you can't fall for the okie doke. Look, I don't know. I think that the chief of police resigning, I have no idea. That could be. I mean, I know there's a lot going on behind the scenes. We gotta know that's happening. But I will say this, man. I think, first and foremost, like you said, going back, if Fawn, Kate, Keith, any of these guys left, it would be very tough. But I think that they brought a good team together. Honestly, I mean, I'm just not saying that because you guys are right here in my face. But I think you got Victoria, you got Sherry, you got you guys. I think this team, one thing that Fawn and Keith have done very well is expressed who we are, what we stand for, right? And we value those values. I think that a large part of what America has found is that load of whatever was supposed to be true in this country is not really being what's presented. So you need to get people that are involved. So if the chief wants to resign. If you cannot respectfully go forward with your position and those values, get the hell out. Honestly, bring somebody else in. Who's next? Let's go.
That's
we got no time to waste. So I say bring in the right people. This is why I do love this squad. I've worked with a lot of companies, man. I'm being straight up, but I'll tell you straight up, this company, Uncle Nearest, has done so well. Here I am with Speedy and with Matt talking about some issues that I probably kept in for years. Don't want to discuss these things among anybody that's not black, to be honest. Because it's hard, you know what I'm saying? And it comes with its own energy. And then I'll be that angry black guy, you know what I'm saying? And I don't want to have to be that. But here I am, and we're doing this live at that. To these people, I don't even know. You know what I'm saying? Only a company that like Uncle Nearest could put that faith. And they're people that they're hired to have those values, to have that respect with one another, and feel confident that you'll pull it off. Wow,
that's the love, bro. Yeah, that's straight up. Yeah, we're truly blessed, man. We're truly blessed, and that's what it was. Where, like I said, man, all day I was like, I'm just in a space where I was like, I don't feel like I got it to do today. Had numerous conversations with everybody. Like, hey, Matt, you guys, you know, I talked to my man Tex, I talked to my dad, been talking with my wife nonstop. It's just like, you know, and it's something was just like, you have a platform, you know, it's okay, you know, and this is also too, this is cathartic. This is a way for you to express yourself and also have people be able to express themselves too, and be able to say what's really going on and how they feel. Because for so long we've been silenced. Like you said, if we even attempt to start saying something, we like, get your knee off my freaking neck. It's like, how dare you even say that? If you take a knee and protest, how dare you do that? You know, it's like after a while, it's like I gotta let it go, and to have this platform, I got to. I mean, because other people out there protesting, other people out there dying, and I'm sitting in my freaking living room. Thank God, you know, I got this house there. I'm blessed. My beautiful kids are upstairs. My wife is in the office checking me out. Hey, how's it going, babe? And I mean, I'm like, you know, this suck it up, man. You can be all right, but also to express your emotions, let it out. I mean, I've had serious conversations, man. You know, my guy was over here, a guy and his wife Blue were over here yesterday. We sat out in the backyard and were just talking about it's tough, it's heavy, all the stuff. We got COVID, you got kids with school, you try to figure out what's the fall gonna look like. You got black people getting killed, like it's freaking hunting season. Like, jeez, who cares? All this stuff is going down. You got friends who are passing away from other things, like all life is still going on. You got a job, you trying to figure out, make sure that you pay the bills. It's like, I don't need nothing else.
2020 is the year we need it. I hate to say it. It's the year that you can finally say, you got to take a gut punch. You know what I'm saying? How tough are you? Yeah. Bam. And it hit you and you just like, wow. I mean,
a few gut punches.
Yeah, a few of them. Yeah, basically. Yeah, it's rocky. Okay. It's rocky. So, but I'm saying this, and I know I'm being a little bit light in this, and I hope y'all understand my levity. It's simply because these are tough times. It ain't going to get no easier in the sense of now we got to act. In the sense of not act, you know, to act together is harder than to act as an individual. I'm being straight up. Right now, I can get so mad, go out there and just do some things. But my point is, I mean, you can. Anybody can right now.
Right.
But to act together, I'm talking about out of like, to do something that's progressive. But like you said, you sitting back with your homeboy having a drink. Maybe, I don't know if you say having a drink, but I might be having a drink with my homeboy. But yeah, you do that kind of thing. And that's what I love about, we talk about Whiskey Dads. Always. One thing I love about Whiskey Dads is guys tend to do that. Nothing against the ladies out there, because I believe ladies do it as well. But I think guys, it is something that we do. If we have stress, we have problems, it's hard to express it in a lot of different ways. And one thing that we feel safe with is to express it amongst our homeboys and our friends. And so I hope that you guys are looking at Whiskey Dads that same way. Express yourself. Be out there. Let this off your back. It's a serious, heavy weight.
Yeah.
Let us find some way to help you. Look, we here together. Right now I'm in VA. My boys are all over the country right now.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? Dealing with the same weight. We got to make it through. All right, we got about 5 minutes. People got to wrap it up.
I want to say a quick thing about what we can do. So we're talking a lot about wanting to make sure that we have change happen. I would say to all of you listening, go to 8cantwait.org because so much of what happens in terms of law enforcement, it happens at the local level. So we can see things pass through Congress, but really it's your city that makes the difference.
Yeah, right.
And so 8 Can't Wait is a list of 8 things that we think need to be done at the local level. I'd also say too, we're all going to vote pretty soon. And the top of the ticket is important, but the things that happen in your community are those things at the bottom that you often, I know I do, like the day before the election, I'm like, who's running for the judgeship or the DA? Like, what is that?
Yeah. Now's
the time to look those things up. See who your local district attorney is and where they stand on certain things. See who their challenger is. It's time, to look up the judges, to look up the local officials and make sure that they reflect the values that you want to see reflected in your community. And those changes can happen. And it's more of a boring thing to do, but it really does affect the change that you want to see.
I like that.
I
like that, Matt. Good call.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Speedy, what you feeling, man? Before we get our way up out of here.
I don't know. I've been a little quiet today, man. It's weird. I promise you, I'm feeling okay.
Yeah, we gotta make sure you're
soaking
good.
it all. Yeah, man, I've been soaking it all in with you guys. I mean, look, when you're out, you see the stuff on social media, which my hats off to everybody that's been social media warriors and stuff like that. But take it one step further. Don't just change to something on your profile pic as far as an outliner that says Black Lives Matter. That's step one, right? But when I'm out and I see these clusters of kids and they're out there all in a group doing it for the gram. Don't do it for the gram. Call them out if you see them just doing it for the gram, man. Do it because it's the right thing to do. Get out, be active.
Absolutely.
And again, I touched on it a little bit last week, but it's like when you see these talking heads on TV. There's one thing, we talked about it after we weren't live last week. One thing that I will not tolerate is willful ignorance. And these people that they just don't want to crack open a book. It's like, oh, well, Lincoln freed the slaves and, stuff like that. Well, they forget about the civil rights movement. When Lyndon Johnson actually, when he made some moves that he alienated a large part of his base.
Yep.
And so, he famously stated, and I'm paraphrasing, but, I think I lost a generation of voters. Okay, well, he can just lose it. I mean, Nixon capitalized on that and, just catapulted forward.
Right.
You see the Aura Ingrams of the world and stuff like that. Just don't listen to that verbal diarrhea, man. Just, read a book.
Verbal diarrhea.
Know your actual, seriously, know your history. I mean, it's just, when I hear someone say, well, it's what my daddy taught me and his daddy before him, and no, sit, get your nose in the corner, crack open a book, and don't get up until you write me a 1,000-word essay.
Yeah. It's a good point you make, Speedy, real quick. I'm going to say this real quick, Jay, and I'm going to give it to you to close this thing out. But real quick, I just want to say, it's interesting what you say, Speedy. One thing I have seen on social media, and I believe it might have been Isaiah Johnson, I tried to highlight one of his comments earlier when he was saying, we're using social media platform to create awareness, to have people speak and talk, and those that want to learn. I'm paraphrasing. I'm sorry, Isaiah, because we've moved on to a couple other comments that you've made. You've had some fire comments in here today.
Fire.
Yeah, and one thing I really want to say about Isaiah real quick, Isaiah did have one before the one we got highlighted. He said, and I'm going to go back to this, he said, I would respectfully like to challenge more men to also stand up for the lives being currently lost in the LGBTQ plus community and to do a better job, is it policing? I can't really see from here, each other, and respect our women, Black women. And then when you do have a highlight where he says not just respect, but also defend and protect. Look,
Protect,
one good comment I did see that came throughout all of this was, I can't remember the guy's name now. I'm slipping. The kid out in London, England, that works with Star Wars, young black kid. He spoke to the whole group.
John Boyega?
John, was it John? Was it
Boyega?
Yeah, Boyega. Is that how you say it?
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
I think so.
Yeah, he spoke, but he spoke from the heart. And that's, I mean, it's amazing because sometimes you speak from the heart, you stumble, and it's very hard. Trust me, I know how that goes, but he did not stumble. And one thing that he really pushed was, we got to take care of our women out here. We got to take care of our black women, particularly. And I really do appreciate that. And he also said, I may not have a career after I say all this, but he did it. And again, that goes back to the strength and the tenacity of the younger generation that I'm seeing out here. So his words, I'm echoing that here in the States. I think this is something that we definitely need to push as well. And I don't think it's, again, I'm gonna go ahead and say this straight up. I don't think it's only black men. I think we need to, and the Me Too movement should have shown us this anyway. You know, men, real men. You know, one thing, and I'm not trying to push my own platform, but one thing we say is boys are born, but men are made. Listen, men, we have to respect, protect, and grow with our women out here. I mean, I don't care what race you are. We really do. I totally agree with that. Uncle Nearest would not be here without our women. So I want to make sure that I do say that. So, Jay, all yours, brother.
Well, you know what? I definitely was going to put that in there because like I said, I've had many conversations. So it is imperative that I say that out of respect for my wife, for my daughters, for my mother, for my sister. We defend and we protect our women because a lot of times, and more especially too, black women, you know, they heck, first of all, you're black. Then on top of that, you're a woman. Like, you getting hit 2 times.
Bingo.
You know, and a lot of times black women are forgotten. And so I want to make sure that we, even though we're whiskey dads, that we make sure we say that. And that needs to be put in the light more. So in regards to me, I apologize for not putting it up as much as we should have, but I want to make sure we do restate that fact that we need to respect, protect, and defend our women. And so also too, I don't know, down the line too, I mean, I know Sailor's right there. That might be something that we work with doing, is having the women of whiskey get on and talk about what it is that they have from their perspective.
I like that.
I mean, that's necessary. You know what I'm saying? That'll be cool. I see my wife just posted on some of the negative effects of being a strong black woman. I mean, it's a huge stereotype out there. So I want to say that, love. The next thing is too, I know we've been in talks, and shout out to my line brother, Dr. Brian Marks, who actually is a implicit bias and diversity trainer. And I want to try and possibly maybe get him on for maybe our next episode, which would be really good to be able to exchange ideas, give knowledge, information, and also to be able to provide data that talks about what it is that how people perceive black people, how law enforcement, how they operate, because that's what he trains law enforcement. You know what I'm saying? So that's the crazy thing too, is that we have an expert in that, and to be able to bring him on and be able to have some dialogue with him and continuing this conversation, continuing this knowledge being spread, continuing this coming together, this working together, because we got a long freaking way to go. But I mean, I'm hopeful of things that are happening recently. But I'm tired, and I want some freaking answers, and I want some things to start being able to happen, and not just be no freaking smoke screen. And 2 months from now, people still get. I mean, the fact that George Floyd was shot and I mean was kneeled on and killed, and then Friday night another black man was shot. It's like it's a slap in the face, and that's what I'm sick and tired of freaking slaps. So hopefully we'll be able to do that and get on with Brian next week and talk about that. Everybody who's out there, I know the question always comes out there in regards to Uncle Nearest, our beautiful 3 expressions, the 1884, which is our small batch. I always get messed up with the screen. The 1884, which is our small batch, age 7 years, 93 proof. That's right. Look at you. You got the 1856. That one, which is the flagship, our premium whiskey that came out, which is 100 proof. The 1856. Love it. And then finally, the one that Speedy just showed, our single barrel, our 1820, which everybody is asking us about.
When does that come back out?
Right
when is that dropping again? The 1820. Anybody
Man,
know?
I don't know.
You can get it at the distillery.
Right.
If you want to drive to
Shelbyville, Tennessee, if you or make a phone call, do whatever you got to do. But I'm telling you, like we are in the same place that you are, where we want the 1820,
Man,
but it's
who you
only 1% of our barrels are 1820. So it's not going to be plentiful. Put it like that. So
no.
But those are our beautiful three expressions, and also to have everybody make sure you go on our website, find out more about Uncle Nearest and what we have going on. Find out more about our initiative with Jack Daniel with Brown Foreman, the Nearest and Jack initiative, which is a huge thing. Hashtag Together We Can.
Talk about that.
Together We Win. It's a great initiative in which we're coming out and working together to build more African Americans being in the distillery programs, to build more African Americans being in the spirits industry, and then also to developing the Nearest Green distilling program. And so we're trying to find and build and create more Black African American distillers. I mean, flat out. And so that's a huge initiative we've taken on, where both companies dropped 2.5 mil, so a $5 million initiative, which is a great thing. So please, you all go check that out. And like I said, go onto our website and find out so much more about us, our story, everything like that, and continue to spread the love and knowledge. And
good God, come on, Jay.
If you would like to purchase, I still think you can purchase us online and have it shipped to your crib and use Liquid Gold. Mac, Liquid
Gold.
Liquid Gold.
Oh, they said Matt. No, Matt.
No, Matt. No, brother. Look, we all do it together. Matt.
Hold on, which direction is Matt? Yeah.
Where are you? You're not. No, you're here.
He says, "Ooh, Liquid Gold."
So just beautiful. It's like this microphone is gold.
So use Liquid Gold as the promo code, and you get free shipping. So, we say all that to have this conversation, but it's always important for us to talk about the story, talk about the brand. I mean, we got some great freaking whiskey. Again, we're the most awarded American whiskey of 2019. It's not just a story. It's not just initiative. It's not just My Brother's Keeper, where we're getting masked out to disproportionately African Americans who are dying from COVID. It's not just all that. It's that we also too have some really, really, really good juice in that bottle. I mean, wait a minute, Jay.
You said, wait, now, what was that again? The most awarded whiskey bourbon in 2019 and 2020 so far? Good.
So far. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's amazing. It's amazing.
I mean, we only been around for like how long?
I think we'll be 3 years old in July.
And already winning those kind of awards.
We're so young. So that's the other thing too. Like everybody's like, how come you're not doing this? How come you're not doing this? We're 3 years old.
Think about it.
Look at what we've done in 3 years.
Think about a 3-year-older running faster than Usain Bolt. That's what you got.
That's what you got.
I love it.
That's it. I'm gonna go out on that one. That was beautiful. So to everybody, raise a glass. We always say drink honorably. Peace and love to everybody who tuned in, and peace and love to everybody out there in the struggle. Please keep hope alive. Please keep working towards a better solution. And thank y'all and thank God that we all got each other. Hey, Whiskey Dads, man. Cheers to you guys, man. Appreciate everybody out there.
Love
y'all stay safe, stay healthy, and we'll see you on the next one, man.
All right, we out of here.
Great cocktail. Love y'all.